Welcome to the Library Connection. I'm Tracy Thomas, the director at the Comer Library, and I want to thank you so much for joining us today. It's exciting to be back with you in a new year, and a new year means lots of new programming at the Comer Library. And today we have a special guest, Dr. Shirley Spears. She's with us to talk about the programming. And Dr. Spears, I want to thank you so much for coming on to join us. And you know, a new year is always exciting, but brown bag starting back is always so exciting to us because we miss our friends.
And they miss us.
They do.
They really do. They tell us all the time they wish we would never stop. So I'm excited too, Tracy. It's a real pleasure to get back started with the programs.
Well, and for people that may not know, Dr. Spears works with our Library Foundation, and so the Library Foundation actually helps raise money for these events, and we have some great sponsors. We want to talk about them too, but I do want to focus on what you do for this program, Dr. Spears, because you work so hard to book great presenters, these great speakers and performers that come. And so I just want to thank you so much for all that you still do to help the library to get these wonderful programs to come in.
Well, Tracy, it's a labor of love, and I really appreciate the opportunity to do it. And basically, you just kind of work a puzzle and piece together, or I call it a potpourri. Under one generic title, you just put together 8 programs. And when you do 8 programs at 12 o'clock noon on Wednesdays, that's pretty specific. So we just try to get the best presenters that we can get and let them do what they love doing, and it works.
And it works. And the thing that I always like to make sure that people know is that it works because you've got such a great reputation. You've got so much credibility in this arena with these cultural arts programs and been recognized for it. And so these people will come to these programs because you call them and you ask them.
Well, and that's a good thought and a comforting thought for me, Tracy, but I really do appreciate the fact that for the last 3 years, you know, you've been at the library 3 years, March the 1st. The library staff and the support from the library is what really makes these programs go. And so I'm so grateful and thankful that this tradition has been continued, and I really do appreciate the opportunity, Tracy, to continue to work with it. It's my pleasure.
Well, thank you, and I'm glad you mentioned the staff because I did want to mention them as well. They add an element to these programs. They work really hard to make sure that these programs are an exciting day for people to come out and to be have refreshments and have social time and have a wonderful cultural arts program. And we have a great staff that works really hard to make sure the day goes off well.
Well, I know you talk a lot about behind the scenes and trying to show the public what's behind the scenes at the library. What's behind the scenes with this series is amazing. It's amazing, the thought, the meticulous detail, all the plans that are laid and carried out to make sure that people have good programs and that they enjoy themselves. So maybe you ought to do a behind the scenes on that and show that wonderful staff and how hard they all work before, during, and after those programs. It takes that.
Well, and I want to, for anybody that's joining us today that may not be familiar with the format of the Brown Bag series, let's talk about that first. The Brown Bag is an 8-week series, and we do that every Wednesday for 8 weeks. And the way it works is you come into the library at about 11 o'clock. Our refreshment room opens in the High Tower room, which is across the hall from our auditorium. And the refreshment room has some wonderful food. We have volunteers that work with that. And the Hickory Street Cafe at Coast Valley Medical Center helps provide refreshments for that time. We call it Brown Bag because we encourage you to bring a sandwich, you know, bring your brown sack with a sandwich in it, and we'll provide drinks, desserts, some light refreshments. And then at 12 o'clock, it's time to move across the hall into the auditorium for this program that we're about to tell you about to start. And so people just enjoy coming. They have time, they socialize with their neighbors, with their friends, and then they get a wonderful program to feed their mind before they leave.
They do.
And so we also want to encourage people that may not be able to come for that 11 o'clock social hour to join us at 12. If they can come on their lunch break, to join us at 12 and come then.
And don't we love how husbands and wives come together? We have so many couples that enjoy the Brown Bag together. So I think that's just really neat.
We do. And so to introduce the program, it is our SouthFirst Bank. It's our adult lecture series, and this one is called Telling Our Stories. And we're kind of coming off the heels of the bicentennial now that we've just wrapped up. 3 years celebrating that in the state of Alabama, and we're still telling our stories.
Okay, that's exactly right. I love this title because it says so much about what the Brown Bag Lecture is about. It is absolutely telling our stories. And of course, to kick off with Elnora Spencer, Most people are familiar with her. She's rhythm and blues, and she calls her style the jazzy blues. She's in the Alabama Hall of Fame for, she's a master blues artist. And so she's very proud of her talent, and she brings her guys with her to play, and it's just a wonderful hour, it really is. It's just a great way to kick off, to have somebody to sing and to have good music.
It is, and you know, when you're sitting there listening to that program, you think, what a wonderful day to spend a lunchtime this way, listening to something relaxing, something entertaining, and Elnora's definitely entertaining, so are her musicians.
She is. She's a very entertaining character, she really is. So I think it's always important to start off on a high note, and then of course we lead into a friend of ours. His name is Elliot Knight, and he is the executive director of the Alabama State Council on the Arts. He's been doing that. He's new on the scene, maybe a couple of years. And he's educated at the University of Alabama. He's a great photographer and has worked with that kind of visual arts for a long time, and came into a place there and replaced Al Head, who had been there for 30 years. So Elliot is doing a wonderful job carrying on the tradition of the State Council on the Arts. And during the last part of his time at the University of Alabama, and then after the bicentennial celebration started 3 years ago, Elliot put together a book of photography, mostly photography, where it's called Alabama Creates 200 Years of Art and Artists. And I know we have that book at the library. I have not actually even seen that book. I've talked with Elliot about it, but he covered so much: quilts, pottery, painting, sculpture, photography, folk art, all sorts of things that, you know, you think maybe we are a backward state. It's not true. We have so much culture in this state, and he's done a masterful job capturing that. So when I noticed that he had presented for Becky Nichols down at Selma, I asked him if he would come and share some of that book and some of the features in the book, and tell us a little story about 200 years of art and artists in Alabama. So I'm looking forward to that program. I think I can learn a lot from it and be thoroughly entertained by Elliot. He's a wonderful young man. He and his wife came one year and chipped and tried to sculpt at the Marble Festival. So he's a daring young rising star, and so it makes me feel good to know that Elliot's going to be with us for the program.
And I think Elliot is one of those people that appreciates the library in Sylacauga so much, because whenever he's traveling through Sylacauga, he makes a point to stop. And if he's got a guest with him, he makes a point to stop and show them the marble sculptures. So he has a great appreciation for Sylacauga and for the Comer Library, and I'm glad he's going to get a chance to present in front of our audience.
I think it's good. And one thing about the Alabama State Council on the Art, they do the major grant each year for the Marble Festival. They finance the Italian sculptor that comes over and teaches for us. They have been faithful for, this is 12 years, to give us money to fund our grants to help us with our cultural arts here in Sylacauga. So we owe them a special debt and have a special appreciation for them.
Absolutely. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to tell you about the remaining 6 programs in this wonderful brown bag series.
Hot under the collar because your basement is full of water? Call a local company you can trust. Ox Foundation Solutions. We use the most advanced water management system to stop water from invading your basement for good. Things feeling a little uneven at home? Ox Foundation Solutions will fix your uneven concrete sidewalk, driveway, or basement in no time. Ox Foundation Solutions has the best plan to keep your home safe. If you are experiencing any issues with your sidewalks, basement, crawl space, or foundation, get a free estimate from Ox Foundations.
Coosa Valley Medical Center, one of the top 10 hospitals in Alabama, is also Sylacauga's largest employer. Services from the emergency room to surgery to cancer treatment to post-stroke care. You won't believe what's right in your backyard. It's Coosa Valley Medical Center in Sylacauga. So, if you're sick in Alabama, choose one of the top 10 hospitals in Alabama. That is Coosa Valley Medical Center.
Marble City Pharmacy in Sylacauga is your destination for the highest quality health care. Our knowledgeable pharmacists are always available for questions about your medications or advice on taking over-the-counter products and supplements. Our friendly staff can assist you in choosing from our full lines of compression hose and medical equipment. And don't forget our gift department. We have a great selection of unique gifts for every occasion. Stop by and see us today. Marble City Pharmacy, here for life.
Welcome back to the Library Connection. I'm Tracy Thomas, and today we're talking with Dr. Shirley Spears, and we're talking about our brown bag series that we have starting back, and it starts back on January the 15th, and it will go for 8 weeks on Wednesday. And I mentioned one of our sponsors, the Hickory Street Cafe at Coast Valley Medical Center, but I also want to mention SouthFirst Bank.
Absolutely.
They've been a fantastic sponsor for many years.
Nearly 10. I can't remember exactly, but they have been sponsoring for a long time.
A long time and faithful, and not just send their money and sponsor in name only, but Randy Fields and Chris Kramer are so good to sponsor and come lend their support and let the crowd see them there, so you know that he believes in what he's sponsoring.
He does, and he feels, you know, their slogan's a community bank, and so I think he feels that it's an important part of offering something to the community, because in Sylacauga, you know, we have so many things, but we don't have a theater. We don't have many of the things that entertain adults, and everyone can't drive to Birmingham, so we hope that we are filling a niche there, a void there. We're really excited about a new presenter named Mike Bunn, and I have heard Mike's name so much for the last 2 years. He is just loved. He's on the circuit, has been on the circuit for the Alabama Bicentennial. He's from down in Spanish Fort, and he directs the Blakely Historic Park, which I really didn't know anything about. He was educated at Faulkner and then at the University of Alabama. And so I kept hearing his name, and Jay kept saying, I said, well, what will Mike talk about? She said, it doesn't matter what he talks about, you'll love it. So he does have a book out and some material on Alabama coming in from being a territory to statehood. And I know we visited that many times, but if you're like me out there, you really don't know a lot about that period in Alabama history, so I think it pays us to look back and to think about where we've been, and I think Mike is just going to do a wonderful job talking about all of these things, and also a new face, somebody from a different part of the world, somebody that does something as interesting as directing a historic park. I feel good about Mike coming in and doing a program for us. I'm glad he's coming.
You mentioned Jay, and I want to touch on that just a minute. That's Jay Lamar, and Jay's been a friend of the library for a long time, and it's so nice to have that network of people like Jay that can recommend people like Mike.
It really is. She was the executive director of the Alabama Bicentennial, and she's been a friend of the library for 30 years. So that's a long time, and she's a very talented young woman, and she never forgets us, and we appreciate her so much. We really do.
We do.
And Tracy, I want you to talk about the next program, because I know that you work with Dr. Mitchell and try to make this happen, so just talk a little bit about the Songs from the Heart with the Talladega College Choir.
Sure. On February the 5th, we'll have the Talladega College Choir coming in, and if you've not been, we've had them for the last couple of years, and if you missed that, you're going to want to come, because Dr. William Mitchell is just he's such a charismatic person. It's just so nice to watch him interact with the choir and to direct them. And the thing that got me was the first year that we ever had them, they have so much respect for him. You know, these are college kids, and they have so much respect for Dr. Mitchell. And I just really have enjoyed working with him and getting to know him. And the first year they came, he said, I want to bring about 25, no, he said, I want to bring the whole choir, and that's about 100 members. And I said, well, Dr. Mitchell, we don't have room for the whole choir to come. As much as I hate that, can you pare it down a little bit? So we played the safety route, and we took about 25 to 30 of the choir members and just did an ensemble. Well, then last year he said, no, I've been in that auditorium, and I really want to bring about 60 members. And so we thought, you know, how can we get 60 members in there? But we flipped our room around and made that work, and just realized what an impact that has to have 60 members of that choir singing in that auditorium. It's incredible.
Right.
And they choose a different theme every month. Their performance changes each month based on the theme. And so their February theme is usually Gospels. And so we're just excited to have them come back again, and it's a great program in February. Valentine's Day is right around the corner, and it makes you feel good to listen to all these, I call them kids, but these college age kids. And when you sit and you hear their stories about, you know, where they're from and how far they come to be here and participate in this choir, it really makes you know it's something special.
They really are special kids, you can tell. Many of them are, as you said, from way off. And we talked to one girl, and there were 4 of them, 4 siblings that were at Talladega College in school there. And it's to me, it's a very spiritual experience to hear them sing. I felt so inspired by watching those young people and knowing also what Tracy and the library staff had put into that, because our auditorium, if you've been in there, is pie-shaped, for the lack of a better way to put it. So for her to turn that auditorium around, bar bleachers, put them in around the back, will show you the extraordinary effort that that library staff goes to make sure that people that come in have a good experience, but also the people who are watching. So I really enjoy seeing them. I enjoy supporting Talladega College and knowing that we're a little part of getting the word out around here that they do have some very special people and that it is a very special historic black college there.
It is. It's just a treat. I hope that you'll be able to come see that one. We really enjoy working with them, and Dr. Mitchell's a character in himself, so we hope you'll see that.
He really is.
Now we have another great program on Wednesday, February the 12th, and this one's kind of exciting because it's a local boy.
I can't say enough good things about Frank Murphy. Frank is from Sylacauga. He graduated at Sylacauga High School, and many of you out there listening to me right now will know Frank better than I do. But Frank went to Montevallo on a baseball scholarship and a fine arts scholarship also, as it turned out. And then he wound up doing religious oil paintings and wound up in Rome, Georgia. He went then to, Louisville, Kentucky, to the Baptist Seminary there, and went to work with the Baptist Church in Rome, Georgia. So he kind of went a circuitous route. He wanted to be a coach. He was going to do PE and be a coach and all that, but that was not where God wanted Frank, obviously, to be. And he has been a blessing. He has religious oil paintings in churches all over the Southeast. He is renowned for what he does. In recent years, we've been blessed that he has turned to marble sculpture. Still painting, just did the painting for the new entrance to the Baptist Church. And so he still paints, but he's also into sculpture. And we have 3 beautiful pieces at the library. Go down and let Tracy and the staff show them to you. We have Rapunzel, we have Don Quixote, and then we bought a piece a couple of years ago called The Resurrection. So Frank is a very talented man. He's very proud of his hometown. He's had a wonderful career, and he has the most fabulous program about his paintings and how he went about doing them, and he shows pictures of his paintings, and also he'll talk a little bit, he'll dovetail into his sculpture, but basically I want him to talk about his religious oils because I've seen that program and it leaves you in awe. It really does.
Well, we're excited that he's going to do a program back at home for us. We're going to take another quick break, and when we come back, we're going to wrap up talking about our SouthFirst Bank Adult Brown Bag Series.
Hot under the collar because your basement is full of water? Call a local company you can trust. Ox Foundation Solutions. We use the most advanced water management system to stop water from invading your basement for good. Things feeling a little uneven at home? Ox Foundation Solutions will fix your uneven concrete sidewalk, driveway, or basement in no time. Ox Foundation Solutions has the best plan to keep your home safe. If you are experiencing any issues with your sidewalks, basement, crawl space, or foundation, get a free estimate from Ox Foundations.
Coosa Valley Medical Center, one of the top 10 hospitals in Alabama, is also Sylacauga's largest employer. Services from the emergency room to surgery to cancer treatment to post-stroke care. You won't believe what's right in your backyard. It's Coosa Valley Medical Center in Sylacauga. So, if you're sick in Alabama, choose one of the top 10 hospitals in Alabama. That is Coosa Valley Medical Center.
Marble City Pharmacy in Sylacauga is your destination for the highest quality health care. Our knowledgeable pharmacists are always available for questions about your medications or advice on taking over-the-counter products and supplements. Our friendly staff can assist you in choosing from our full lines of compression hose and medical equipment. And don't forget our gift department. We have a great selection of unique gifts for every occasion. Stop by and see us today. Marble City Pharmacy, here for life.
Welcome back to the Library Connection. Today we're talking about our SouthFirst Bank Adult Brown Bag Lecture Series, and we've got Dr. Shirley Spears with us, and Dr. Spears does a fantastic job of booking these presenters, and so we've got a few new faces on the schedule this time, and so the next one is a new face.
Well, we do have a really pretty brunette coming in to do the story of Alabama in 14 foods, and I had heard, with Mike Munn, I heard so many good things about her presentation, and then I decided that I would try her because her book came out, and I think the library has her book. And anyway, she uses the lens, she calls it, of food to tell the story of Alabama. And I think that's an interesting thought, that she looks at the state's culture, its regions, its social and political movements through the lens of food. And if you think about that, you know that that could be true, because if you looked at us, where we are right now, there are certain foods around here that we all just adore and we love, and you know, maybe it's sweet potatoes and buttermilk and collards and that sort of thing that the Yankees laugh at us about. But she gets in also the Creeks and the Creoles and the wild turkey hunters and the festivals and the different ways that food has actually helped to shape our culture. And I don't think that I've ever had a program exactly like that, where she uses myths, legends, and truths about Alabama food to tell a little bit of the history of Alabama. So I think people really enjoy that. I think men will enjoy it. I think women will enjoy it. I think it's just a really good idea. She's an interesting character. She is with the Gulf States Health Policy Center. And she came out of economic development. She's educated at Auburn University, and her big thing was economic development, but she wound up down at Gulf Shores doing that. She's worked with community foundations and done a lot of different things. But I understand she's a very good presenter, so I'm looking forward to seeing her. We've had a time with her name. She spells her name Blejwas. So we wonder what the J and the W is doing in there, because we think she calls herself Blevar or Blavie. We're going to find out before she gets here. But Emily's a beautiful girl, and I think she has a wonderful story, and I hope you will think about trying something new and come on out. Because in the past, when people would say, well, you know, I'm not too interested in golf, or I'm not too interested in whatever, they'll come back to you and they'll say, I just didn't know. Yeah. And that's one of the best programs I've ever seen. So never judge a program by its title. Just come on out and look and listen to the story of Alabama in 14 foods.
I think it's a unique approach for her to use food as the backdrop.
I do too.
Because food's kind of the common denominator for all of us.
Oh yeah, we all love it and love to talk about it too.
Now, Wednesday, February the 26th, we've got just a good friend to the Comer Library coming back, and I'm so glad that he was able to come back, that he committed to come back and do one more for us.
I'm glad too. It's always, he's a state treasurer, and I'm not sure that he's not a southeastern treasurer, and maybe he's a national treasurer, but Dr. Wayne Flynn is known to many. And he's a very courageous man. He's a Baptist minister. He also is a distinguished professor at Auburn University. He taught at Sanford for many years before there. He's educated at Florida State. And he's just a brilliant historian who maybe sometimes we don't like what he says, but he is the conscience of Alabama. He tells the truth as he sees it. He tries very hard to be honest in his opinions. He's a very kind and good man, a good Christian person, but he does have some wonderful stories. And I noticed that the Birmingham News picks up a lot of his ideas, and they'll run whole page specials on things that Wayne thinks are important enough to talk about. So I noticed a whole almost page on Clay County, right, our neighbors, and so I looked at it and I thought it was so interesting the way that Wayne had written about Clay County. And so, of course, I emailed him like I usually do, and I said, hey, I saw your article on Clay County, I liked it, and was that a story you'd like to tell? And so he got back to me pretty quick, and he said, oh yeah, he said, I know some wonderful Sylacauga families that I can talk about in relation to Clay County, but that he would really like to come and talk about it. And he told me affectionately that, you know, he said, I came from somewhere else. He was born out of state. I can't remember if it was Mississippi or where, but he raised in Anniston, went to Anniston High School. I'm very proud of his hometown there. But he said, sometimes my wife is from Clay County. Sometimes I'm just tempted to adopt Clay County because I love Clay County. So I think this will be a labor of love for him. He said, I will do as I always do. I'll talk about some famous Alabamians from Clay County, and I'll talk about a lot of people who are not famous, but they're important. So I think it'll be so much fun to hear Dr. Flint come in and talk about a county that I had no idea until I really started looking that it's so diverse. You know, you think of it as a little bit hilly, a little bit scrub brush, that kind of thing. But then when you think about the fact that over there you've got part of Cheaha State Park, you've got part of the National Forest, you've got Lake Wedowee, you've got so many beautiful things in Clay County to think about, and it's such a rural place. It still only has about 13,000 people. So anyway, it's going to be fun to hear his take on those people that came out of Clay County, what he thinks about them, and he's honest. He'll tell you exactly what he thinks about them. So I'm always looking forward to seeing Dr. Flint. He's so encouraging, supportive of our library. He really is. He appreciates it.
I think that's what endears him to the audience, is his honesty.
I think so. He really is a very honest, good man. And so, you know, they're hard to find.
They are. So we will wrap up this series on March the 4th with Dolores Hydock. And Dolores is another one of those, it doesn't matter how many times you've seen her, she tells a different story every time. And for people that don't understand how relaxing it is for an adult to sit back and hear a storytelling program, it's wonderful.
I think she's the best storyteller I've ever seen. And I'm telling you that when you've seen Catherine Tucker Wyndham, she's right up there with Catherine. And I think that she has such a pleasant personality, and she loves the Sylacauga audience. And I'll be honest with you, she does us a favor to come back every year. She comes to every series and closes it out for us. Meanwhile, Dolores's tickets to see her in Birmingham are $25. So you get a treat, and it's free, and she gives it her best shot. In fact, many times she tries a program out on the Sylacauga audience. She'll bring it to us first. And she thinks that much of the audience, she'll fly it by us to see, you know, what she needs to do to it, that kind of thing. So she's doing through the back door the music that bridged the bayou. In other words, she's talking about Cajun music. And she has a little saying there that you can be a Cajun three ways: by blood, by marriage, or through the back door, which is called befriending the culture. And when I think about befriending the culture, I think about Rita Grimsley Johnson and how much she loves Louisiana and the culture down there by befriending them. You know, she goes back all the time. She loves the culture down there, and she's a convert, so she's telling the truth. You do see people who just fall in love with everything Louisiana and Cajun. So I'm looking forward to Through the Back Door, the music that bridged the bayou, and Dolores does that. And if she does what I've seen her do before, she tells the story of the migration of the Cajuns, and then she'll play a little bit of probably of the music with a cassette player. So come out and see Dolores. She closes out on a high note.
Thank you so much, Dr. Spears. It's going to be a great program. It takes sponsors, it takes people to book the great programs, the Library Foundation, and it also takes you to come out and participate, and we appreciate it so much. Thank you for being with us today.
I appreciate the opportunity, Tracy.
Thank you, and we look forward to seeing you when we start back on January the 15th at the Comer Library.